Welcome to the Divine Play podcast, a practical guide to living with joy. I am Mirilena Lee, and I'm here with my beautiful co-host,
Shannon Morrison.
And we are super excited, of course, as always, to be here. We hear us say that all the time, but it's because it's true. And today we are here to talk about one of our favorite topics. And this topic is one that I feel like it's kind of a universal struggle for a lot of people.
Oh my
And
gosh, yes.
the topic of abundance, wealth, money, lack of money, scarcity, and that entire world of limiting beliefs and painful stories that we have around money. So,
Absolutely.
with that, let's dive in headfirst into the deep end. So,
Perfect. I absolutely think that this conversation, it comes up all the time. I think it comes up in every single conversation almost that I have with women growing a business and entrepreneurship. I think it has come up with daily life struggles of when you first start adulting, like in my kids' new world right now, like things come up and they're like, don't know how to figure things out. They do. But it's like resourcefulness, abundance, scarcity, and I feel like money is really a conversation about how much you feel worthy of dot dot dot. I think we put money and worth together so many times. And I feel like it's the feeling underneath it, right? Am I worthy of all of this? Am I I grew up in lack, or we always have those stories in our background. Like our parents were like, money doesn't grow on trees. You don't need that. We don't have the money for that. Only rich people have blah, blah, blah. Or all rich. I mean, put it in the comments below if you've heard these stories, right? Rich people are snobby. We don't want to have, I don't want to be like them because, or I wish I could be like them because it's conversations that come up. It's money and worth. I just feel like it's the same thing. Which one came first?
I think it's kind of clear usually. I think it's usually family programming and cultural
Hmm.
programming that we have. And for me, it is a slightly different story. It was never that I wasn't worthy of good things or worthy of abundance. It's kind of a long winding tale, but the biggest part of my difficulty with making money, it took me quite a while to uncover it. And it was rooted in love, which I thought was really interesting the more I dug into it. The very first coaching program I ever did, actually, we talked a lot about how a lot of these limiting beliefs that were given to us by our lineage, by our mothers and grandmothers and fathers, even though it ended up the fallout from it was not good in our lives, it was usually given to us from a place of love. And so my mother and my grandmother, they came from a generation where, the way that you assured that you were taken care of was to be a good homemaker, to develop the skills of cooking and cleaning and child rearing, because the surest way to find financial security was to find a good man and to get him to marry you, because then he would provide for you. Because although money was abundant, it was made by men, it's not made by women. And that story was given to me in so much love, but boy, did it throw a wrench in my works and make it really difficult for me to think that I could take care of myself. And I put myself in a lot of bad situations because of it, that weren't really true and authentic and aligned with who I was. And it's interesting because it wasn't around worth. It wasn't that we weren't worthy to make money as women. It was that women just literally weren't the money makers. And that
That
was
is so interesting.
pretty powerful one to have to unravel. And it was like a magic key when I learned it, but it took me years to really settle into my power around being able to support myself and my children. When it was just me, it was no big deal. But once I had children, oh boy, it really took root.
Well, absolutely. And it changes the trajectory. And I absolutely agree that it's in our lineage. It is a story that is in us. So everybody's story is going to be unique, right? How they come to the table of their money story. There's so many money stories. And what we're here to do is have these conversations and lean into creating a different way of telling your own story. And so from this day forward, like how can we transform this thought, belief, or experience, right? And
Yeah.
in my growing up, and it is also an age factor. Like you just brought that connection up. Like every generation is going to be different. It's like hard times create strong people to create abundance. And then all of a sudden, we want our kids to have it easier, better, more
Mm,
enjoyable, and we create soft children. And so I feel like the experience just is a circle, right? And so that every generation, like every 10 I don't even know, decade, every decade is like a complete repeat. But in my experience, I had a little bit of both. And so it's so interesting. My experience is you work your ass off to get time, like your time put in is what you reap in rewards. And you get to do it until you retire. And then maybe you have a couple more years. But I feel like as soon as you retire, there's like other ththings go on and there's no
mhm.
magic after that. And so it's
Well,
just putting me to like work your ass off.
yeah, my grandfather, but he goes by Eddie, and my granddaddy Maddox, he is going to be turning 92 in September,
Mm,
and they were very conservative, they were very frugal, they were also just truly like kind of like country people, it was like they grew a lot
mhm.
of their own food, and my granddad, I just found out, built a lot of his house by hand himself, and it like blew my mind, but I also wasn't surprised by it because they were so frugal. So it was like they were very resourceful. And he was so smart with money. And I asked him if he had any advice for me, and he was like, travel now. He's like,
Mm,
do all the traveling you want while you're young and you can move. He's like, we wanted to go to Europe. We wanted to do all these things. And he's like, by the time I retired, we didn't have the energy. And
yeah.
that's one of those things that there's so much tied into like having the things that you want while you're young enough to have them. And that's like a whole
Mhm.
nother podcast,
It is a whole other episode. I totally
right?
agree with that. I
And
worked with elderly for so long and they owe it everybody. And that's kind of what I was going into too is when we die, our possessions don't freaking matter. Like we're
they
not
don't
taking them
matter.
with us. We're not taking the
No,
BMW, we're not taking the house, we're not taking the
no.
boat in the garage, we're not taking the 7 places. But I mean, it's like it's like the scale of materials that we collect to show our financial abundance, which we can simply be, and the way we be can be okay.
It is.
I worked with the older generations. I have worked with long-term care, and that was their biggest regret
Mm. Live your
is
life.
live your like do the things because
Do the
you
things now.
never freaking know. Yeah, do the things. And so what would happen if we were present in today and created these things without a fear of, will your thought process, I know what's going to come up next is, what if it's just money? What do you
Yeah.
always say?
This is my magic. And we've talked about this off camera before, right? And that is that I have a money mantra that I developed in my teens that served me so well. And it was, it's just money. I'll make more. It's just money. I can make more, right? It's like
Exactly.
taking that trip to Prague when I was like 36, I think. I took a trip to Prague by myself. I just picked somewhere on the map. I wanted to go somewhere where I didn't speak the language. I had always wanted to travel internationally, and I had never had the chance to do it. And I literally just bought a plane ticket that was like $1,800. I was like, F it. And I went, and I was like, it's just money. I'll make more. And,
Hmm.
so practical tool wise, if we're talking about this idea of having a money mantra,
Hmm.
here's the thing, my money mantra might not work for you.
Hmm.
The money mantra that I have, that is, it's just money, I'll make more. The key word there is I will make more,
Hmm.
because my money hangups were that money was abundant, but it was made by men. And so
Yep.
when I had that kind of like repetitive, it's just money, I'll make more, it was so powerful for me because I believed that I, as a woman, was not the money maker. And so my practical tool for people today is to figure out what your limiting belief is with money. And I had another limiting belief, and I'll touch on that in a second, but this one was the one that like really took root in childhood that was super difficult for me to get past. So like find what is your story about money? Like
Mhm.
who gave it to you?
Yeah.
When did they give it to you? Why did they give it to you?
Mhm.
And where was the love in it? Those are the questions that I recommend asking yourself when you figure out what your money story is that's holding you back or keeping you playing small or not taking the trip, whatever it is. And then creating a money mantra that is the flip side of that limiting belief. I am capable of making money. Me, nobody else. I don't need to depend on other people. I will make more. So that's number one. The other money belief that I had, and I think this ties into yours, so I want to know what you think about this. When I did my career breakthrough session, we do these like 2D breakthrough sessions that are maze balls, they'll change your whole life. Happy to talk to people about it. But when I did my own breakthrough session, I did it on career. And we get to the core belief that's at the root of like what's holding us back. And I was like
Mhm.
literally charging peanuts for coaching and
Mhm.
guidance and like whatever for people. And I did my breakthrough session. We figured out that the core belief that was driving it was not that I was unworthy, not that I wasn't capable even at that point, because I'd already done so much work on that. It was literally that if I put my own needs first and I charge for my work and I charge enough for my work that I feel nourished and fed and cared for, and I charge appropriately, then I'm putting my needs before the needs of other people. And if I do that, then I'm selfish. And if I'm selfish and I'm letting other people down, I'm not a good person. People who aren't a good person, they're not freaking lovable. And
Mm.
when we got to the core of this, that to take care of myself made me unlovable, it like unlocked everything. Right. And so, like, that can be huge. Like, people with
Mhm.
money are bad because they're taking
Yep.
care of themselves.
Exactly. I resonate with that so much. I do. And I work with the lineage of this. And I love that you brought that up because we get to go in and figure out where the story came from. We get to and show up in love. Like they shared it because they had a belief or an experience. And they shared it because they loved you so much that they're like, hey, listen, I lived through this.
Mm.
Be careful. It's
Yeah.
like, don't touch the light socket because it's going to shock you. But do you really understand the shock of it if you actually don't touch the damn light socket?
I mean, there's that.
I mean, so I obviously shared the belief that because my both my kids have it, it's so interesting. The belief that people with money are arrogant, evil people. And all you need is what you need to take care of yourself, to give yourself a house, a home, and be comfortable. That's all you need. We don't have to need any more, right?
Don't be
And
greedy.
don't be greedy. Yes. Oh my gosh. And I have like really opened up to the idea of like, how did I teach this? But I feel like, again, it just comes to the I am not worthy of this different scale. And I'm like, friends, we could put our underwear on the same.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like it's different. It might be, I might shop a different place, I suppose, for said underwear. I don't know. I mean, we're being honest right now, but I just feel like, I feel like they're connected. And I feel like we don't have to be greedy assholes. We can be women who are successful in whatever form we want. And maybe you're a nurse and a teacher, or maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and you still are working your ass off and you still get to be appreciated and you still get to get underneath the energy of what financial abundance can gift you or take away from you. It's all energy. I love the getting to the story, where it came from, who did it, who started it, what was your belief around it? Because we all want to gain independence. We all want financial abundance. We all want abundance is abundance. It's abundance of love. It's abundance of food. It's abundance of friends, your inner circle, connection with your kids, connection with intimacy, time. right? The only thing you can't get back is time. So I literally really, if we guided you to anything, take a trip. All of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's not even worth not taking the trip. I want to go to Bali. Like these things are in there in my heart's heart. And so why not now? The time is now because we don't know what's tomorrow. But
Yeah, if not
again,
now, when?
yeah.
Right? And it's also this idea of like trusting that the next good thing will come. I
Hmm.
think it's really powerful. But, you're talking about desires.
Hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So, Abraham Hicks fans, give us a
Hmm.
thumbs up in the
Yes,
comments
no kidding. Right?
and
Hearts, hearts,
say
hearts.
Abraham, because like I know there's so many Abraham Hicks fans out there.
Hmm.
And so, Abraham Hicks talks all the time about our vortex, and we're always
Hmm.
launching rockets of desire. So I'm going to go a little bit like on the woo woo end of things because we love the woo woo, let's be real.
We do.
And so when we understand that we're vibrational beings, that we vibrate at a particular frequency, our
Hmm.
thoughts vibrate at a frequency, our emotions vibrate at a frequency. If we have a story that that's not for me,
Hmm.
people with money are bad people,
Hmm.
I'm not a good person if I have money, then if we are vibrational beings and we attract what we are, we don't attract what we desire. We attract what we are believing, thinking, and feeling. The universe and the world mirrors back to us in experiences, people, situations, and opportunities, or lack thereof. And
Absolutely.
so for me, I'm like practical tool, figuring out your story about money is probably the number one thing you can do to begin to shift your experience with money, wealth, abundance, and opportunity.
You
No,
know
it's
you
okay.
have friends, coworkers, family out there that like stuff just continues to go wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it's not just like I spilled my coffee, I had to go change, I'm late for work, whatever. Like shit legitimately happens to them all of the time.
Always hitting the
And
fan. Sure.
always there something always happens that creates a financial pressure on them all
Yeah.
the time. And
Mm-hmm.
so how we show up is always a reflection of what's going on. Like it is the
Right.
communication with the energy, right? And
Yeah.
I think we talked about this off camera too. It's like, I want to get out of debt. All your brain is hearing is, oh, we want debt. Not, doesn't know not. So
Right.
how do we shift that energy? It's the words, it's the images, it's the creation, it's the mantra, it's all of the work that you do every day. And maybe if you would purchase the trip to Prague, maybe all of a sudden you're going to have a job opportunity that you're like, holy crap, where'd that come from? Right?
I will say
Because,
that's huge.
mhm,
Funny for me because I am in the process of paying off a lot of debt. And as I have been, I mean, I'm sending out huge amounts on debt right now, like $3,000 in the last 2 months. I've
mhm.
just been like throwing it because I'm like, man, debt free is freedom. Debt
You
free
are
is freedom.
expanding your line of credit every single time you put a
Every single time.
payment
It
there.
gives me more freedom to use
Yes,
my cash flow and my capital how I want to use it, right? And
absolutely.
so it's one of those things though that I want to circle back around to this. When it comes to figuring out your limiting belief and understanding that you're attracting what you're the frequency of which you're vibrating at, like what you're believing, you're attracting things that will confirm those beliefs. Now, you are not to blame or at fault or whatever. It's not like you're failing if you have a
Mm-mm,
limiting belief. It is the point of this lifetime to learn lessons. And to learn lessons, you're going to have to fall on your face or run into the wall a couple times.
mhm,
It's fine.
mhm,
You just have the power to take a step back, to think about what you're believing inside about money, and then like start to dismantle it and decide if that's what
mm.
you want to believe. It's just a choice.
Marilena, I love this conversation so much because it is in everybody's forefront. I mean, I really it is. We all want freedom. We all want choices. We all want better for our kids. We all want things. We all have these dreams and desires, right? And if you want something different than you have, absolutely go into, is this true? How can I shift this perspective? What am I bringing to this? So it's really changing the perspective, changing the filter, and shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a bit woo, but literally
It's not though.
It's not.
No. It's
It is a
neuroscience.
belief inside you that gets to be transmuted into something different. If you want different, you get to think differently. If you want different, you get to speak differently, and show up
Yeah.
and not think that those other people are dot, 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 right? And it's all about intimacy and feeling and loving the human that you see in the mirror.
Oh,
Literally.
yes. And like anytime I look at somebody with money, and this actually, I'm going to take this to my work that I do, the spiritual work that I do. Um, one of the things that's come up for me has, who are they to be doing this work? This also transfers to money. Who are they to be taking that trip to Europe? Who are they to be getting their dream car? Like, why did
Mhm.
they get to have that? And then I get to go, oh, wait a second. The world is a mirror. Who am I to take my bucket list trip?
Mhm.
Why am I asking that question? Because my judgments are always me judging myself and like seeing it outside of myself so that I'm not
Mhm.
having
Oh
it
my
in me.
gosh,
But
absolutely.
like, why am I all of a sudden not worthy to take a trip to Prague? Like, why don't I get to have that? Who am I not to take that trip? Like,
Yeah.
why am I denying myself these things? And these are all questions that you can ask once you figure out your story, to question it and then create your own money mantra. I had another one that I got from the book, You Are a Badass at Making Money. If you haven't
Oh,
read
I love
this
that
book,
one too.
highly recommend. I used it when I became
Good
a
one.
single mom and I had to support myself. I started driving down the road, singing little songs to myself. I love money and money loves me. And it was like I would just like sing these songs to myself, and like I would get clients who wanted to see me every week for like 3 months, and they would pay me in cash up front without blinking an eye, and I'd be like, thank you, universe, can I have 10 more please? And it was like I literally just
Absolutely.
got super
I
kind of
love
like
that.
silly about it. And it was like I just had, like, if you don't have a mantra, if you can't figure out your mantra, because I didn't know mine at the time, use somebody else's mantra until you can figure your own out. But like, I love money,
Absolutely.
money loves me. Money allows me to bless the people I love. Money allows me to enjoy my life. And
Exactly.
mhm.
Exactly. And not sit there and worry about it. I love the word. I think that's the book title. And it's literally thanking money every day.
Yes.
Um,
Oh
if
yes,
you're
I do
paying it
that.
out, if it's a bill you're coming in, you're thank you so much for my
Yes.
electricity because it literally lights my home. It literally is allowing me to be here right now. It
Yes.
charges everything. And so like what if bills were just like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." What if
Well,
a penny or a dime on the ground was thank you so much for this gift? Like what if everything was a gift and that frequency went through everything? Think about how
yes.
much more abundance you would have. One more
One,
thing, Marilena.
one. Okay. When people hand you money, take it
Mm,
in your hands, look them in the eye, and say, thank you so much. And when people want to buy you dessert, or they want to buy you dinner, or they want to give you something or gift you with something, instead of being like, oh, no, I can't do that, literally look at them and say, are you sure? Yes, I am willing to receive. I'll receive
absolutely.
that.
I'll receive that.
And
Thank you
it's
so
going to be
much.
uncomfortable the first few times you do it, but believe me, it's worth it. It begins to shift your frequency about receiving and accepting and being in abundance like that. And now I'm done. I'll stop talking because I know we're over.
It is so true though, because like even a compliment, how good are you at taking compliment? Because I was like, you gave me a compliment earlier, and I was like, is it good or is it
Yes.
whatever? We constantly
Be
deflect. No,
willing to
we're good. No,
receive
I'm good. Be
and say it
willing
out
and
loud.
accepting to receive. I
Yes.
receive all that
Be
is.
willing to
Yes,
receive
absolutely.
and say it out loud. And now I'm done.
We have so many tools in here. Snag out the one that you like the most, and we will see you next week. We
Yes.
love you, friends. We'll talk to you soon.